Assalamualaikum to all the participants of BITAS Asia Conference 2022. We meet again virtually this year. I believe some of us have also attended the same conference last year. And for new members, aspiring architect, welcome to this conference. I will be sharing the optimizing business value in the public services sector to give some insights in terms of how to realize our strategy in the transformation of digitalization. This strategy will enable us to achieve sustainable digital government that catalyze the digital society and also digital nation. Let me share my screen for Alicia. I can share my screen, yeah?
Yes.
And can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. I would also like to thank IASA for inviting me and given the opportunity to share my insight on this topic. So in a Malaysian context, ICT has actually contributes to our GDP in 2019 as about 19.1%. So when you are talking about implementation of digitalization agenda or initiatives, without any contribution to the economy of the country, usually it will be put as a low priority, right? So what Malaysia has done so far is actually we have highlighted and also give some directions that we should achieve 22.6% contribution of ICT or digitalization by 2025. If not, we will lose in terms of the competitive global economy, and we have to be ready for change. When you are talking about realizing digitalization, definitely you have to change, whether individually, as a team, as a group, organization, or even as a country. So therefore, we have to understand what is actually the public sector business value. I believe in not only in Malaysia, in ASEAN country, we are actually hitting the same goals and targets in digital government. So the first one will be to improve our public service delivery, especially nowadays we are talking about post-pandemic and a lots of virtual engagement and also virtual serving of the country. If we can actually understand the needs of the client in the virtual world, then basically we understand how to design the services that we build. Of course, the second one is on the data-driven. When you are talking about data-driven, not only in public policy, but also in terms of how you implement the policy itself is actually based on the evidence and also in terms of how the value of the data and insight of the data being used in the service. And the third one will be on the emerging technology. People are talking about emerging technology in vast areas, but if we are looking inside in terms of the readiness of emerging technology adoption in our future work, it's still very low. But if we look into the research done before, it shows that AI technology actually increased GDP by 26% in the next decade. This is mentioned in our My Digital Malaysian digital agenda. So in terms of architect, what is actually change that we need to do is in terms of service design in the architecture, that we should put in effort in terms of how architecture can help in terms of user experience, changing the user experience in the digital world. And also the intelligence of data can be used in a lots of different meanings based on how the data is being collected or how the data is being used. One of the technology and the emerging technology is artificial intelligence, which is have a lots of a different way of using artificial intelligence algorithm to make sure that our processes is automated. So in Malaysia, we have a national digitalization agenda that we have put in for the period of 2021 to 2025. I believe the goals will be almost the same with other ASEAN countries, which is actually contributing to the economy of the country, and also in terms of society expectations of livelihood. Yeah. So in Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint is one of the blueprint that actually drives the digitalization for the country to make sure that Malaysia transform to digitally driven and high income nation. On top of that, it is interdependent with the National 4IR policy, which is improving more digitalization in terms of technology applications and innovation in all sectors. For the public sector, we have a blueprint that drive us and also guide us in how to make sure that digital government initiatives that we have done before sustain to catalyze the digital society. On top of that, we also have a related digital roadmap, which guide us in terms of specific implementation of digitalization, such as e-commerce, e-payment, smart city, AI, blockchain, robotic, and IoT at the national level. So when we are talking about digital transformation, what are the driving force of the public sector services? We put in 5 strategies that actually will have to be working if we work together in collaboration with 3 levels of government. We have federal, states, and local government. So the first one will be in terms of managing change for effective digital transition. This is actually how we understand what is the change that we need to achieve for the digital to be adopted. And the second one is on the leveraging of digital technology to improve workflow efficiency and productivity. This is quite a long term goals, which we have been improving since 2019. And then the third one is enhancing digital skill set. Of course, we need to have a civil servant who is digitally literate and a technically skilled. And then the fourth one will be utilizing data to improve government services. We need to understand the meaning of utilizing data. So there will be several different approaches that we can actually benefit the government services in terms of utilizing the data. The fifth one is actually increasing the scope and quality of online services for better user experience. The word here is not only online services, but better user experience. So we need to understand how our users want their experience virtually being improved. So if we're looking into the first one, how do we manage change? The emergence of technology and data analytics actually put some expectations from the ability of the government to do the changes in terms of delivering their services. Usually we associate change with how we can have a digital mindset and open our mind to innovations, changing the way that we do things, and using technology to accelerate and enable the innovative ideas. At the same time, we have to show to the public that our capabilities to harness 4IR and digital technology is actually based on a data-driven government. So if we look into the changes that we need to do currently with the post-pandemic and acceleration of digitalization, we know every change will come together with resistance of change. So how actually we make sure that even though they resist, they still have to drop the new normal, the new ways that we are imposing to them for use. Is actually some innovation need to be done to make sure that even though we change the way we do things, the benefit is still the same or maybe better. So therefore, we actually have to, as an architect of enterprise architect or IT architect or even business architect, we have to look into how we can change the experience by imposing hybrid experience. Hybrid experience usually we combine both, blend digital and real world elements. For example, as of now, one of the initiative, I think most of our country giving forth is in smart agriculture. So that in terms of smart agriculture, you have to have an innovation in terms of using robotics and also data-driven solution, so that every processes that they have done in smart farming, for example, will be actually cost effective and make sure that less labors, human labors are involved. Yeah, so it is more in terms of efficiency and also in terms of persistence and persistence of the data. So in terms of managing innovation, the way that we architect things should be different from the way that we do, for example, like system development using Agile. So what should we ask ourselves? Which, even though we're focusing on digital transformation from IT's perspective, we should broaden our mind and look into the needs of the environment and also in terms of the ecosystem. So what is the work that we need to do to make sure our community, resident and business better interact with us? And at the same time, who are we have interaction with to ensure their enriched experience in visually. The second one, when we're talking about leveraging digital technology in terms of efficiency and productivity, it is not only the changes of digital technology to public administration, but also how we actually integrating the use of the technology into our productivity. So one of the most important thing is actually we start from home. Yeah. So we should improve our workplace productivity by adopting digital service. I believe a lot of most of us, or a lot of the time, we still prefer paper-based document and correspondence medium rather than using digital medium, especially if we have to read a long reports. Yeah. So maybe that kind of culture need to be changed a little bit by managing what is the solution, digital solutions that actually can affect productivity in the workplace. So in terms of digital technology across policy formulations and different level of government, usually as an architect, what we do is we need to coherent the use of digital technologies. For example, if we have border control solution, I know in Malaysia, we have more than 25 agencies that work in terms of giving service at the border control. So most of their work will have to deal with digital device, IoT or sensors technology to make sure that the border is really secure. So how as an architecture for us to make sure that the use of digital technology can be coherent at all levels. So that is actually what mentioned by Mr. Aaron just now in terms of standardization to ensure that the island or silos digital is not actually being done. The third one will be on the optimization of government resources. Of course, this is if we are actually using RPA or even AI to automate our tasks, some of our work will be done automatically by the system or in the machine with the there is a, so there won't be any human intervention needed. So we can actually, one of the resource that really SaaS nowadays our human resource with the digital skills. Yeah, so we can actually optimize this by using technology. So in terms of how we improve workflow and workplace, as an architect, we should look into these 4 elements that can help to see how technology is being used. One of it is how to upgrade the how to make sure improve citizen trust or even employee trust is by using personalization information of data. And by using this, people will feel that you are being served individually based on your needs. The second one will be in the architecture. We should have how the diverse analytics being used to do the automation. So different way of analytics will have a different impact in terms of automations. So if we are only looking to automate the electronic process of our work, it don't actually transform digitally. So what we need to see is actually, for example, if we have nowadays is data entry in terms of how we want to come up with the work reports, maybe weekly, daily, or even yearly reports, we can change that by actually minimizing the data entry if we know the source of data is actually somewhere else, where we can actually integrate in terms of the data collection among several agencies one time, yeah? Or we call it once only principles, whereby we collect once and integrate to ensure that the data is being used at the multiple levels of processing at a different agencies. So that is the responsibility of us as an architect. The third one will be visualization. This is actually very SaaS. As I give consultation and advisory to the agencies that improve their process digitally, usually visualization is not one of the priority. But if we look into how data can help to visualize decisions, actually visualization is one of the areas that we must have, so that when we are talking about intelligence data, it is actually being used properly. The last one, of course, usually we disregard about, in Malaysia, we call it aduan. Some of it is feedback. Employee and citizen feedback is very, very, very important to us as the government to improve our services. So how do we get this is actually by leveraging the data of transactional feedback and experience of the client, of our employee and also citizen, to ensure that we get the best feedback that can help us improve. The third one, we are talking about digital skills of the civil servants. So one of the strategy is actually to build the in-house talent, especially when we are talking about, as of now, the data scientist has been in every forum that we go, right? As if they understand what data scientist means. Well, actually, it is part of the talents that we need. Other than that, we actually need someone who can steer the digital transformation. It means that even though you are from a different background, if you are a digitally skilled expert or officers, you need to understand how to plan and execute a strategic digital, especially in terms of in your supply chain, in terms of business development, also in terms of planning and economy. So when that is the case, we have to look into a different background and different people working at the same time. Yeah. So one of the area that we are looking into is actually multidisciplinary use of ICT in the solutioning. So one of the responsibility of architect is to know how to come up with a good idea or a very innovative solutions. So one of the area being, this is actually given by ITU and NIA in Korea. They found that to have a policy informatics skills, which is skills that can deliver digital strategy, you need these 5 area of disciplines. You must have a background of public administration and policy. If you are a technical people, you must have a computer science background, especially if you are using for our technology. management science and operational research. You must have a research background as well. Cognitive science and decision making. This is when you are working with algorithms. And sociology and economy is to understand how the impact of what the solution we have to the constituents. The fourth one is utilizing data to improve government services. So people have been talking about utilizing data for decades, right? And how we actually need to do this is to change the culture. Not actually only have to use the data, but you need to change the culture first so that they can embrace the digital mindset just now. Without that, they won't understand the importance of the data that being collected using their application or online services. So we are actually talking about digital by design. Whose responsibility is this? Of course, architect, right? You need to know, because whatever you design without the digital in mind, it will become an electronic automations of analog to digital. So now when you are talking about digital by designs, you are actually understand the design of intelligence of the data. So, or people call it data driven. So one of the areas that need to be enhanced is the evidence-based policy development, whereby nowadays we collect lots of data at the policy development level in terms of facts and in terms of cascading goals. But we're not actually looking into the impact of how using digital can tackle the problems of the society. So when we are asking some of the agencies or ministry, why are you doing EA, or why do you want to transform? What are the changes that you need to be done? Usually they cannot even come up with a problem statement. So if we have a problem statement that we can tackle, or we want to give a solution to, then we know how reliable and comprehensive the data should be for us to come up with the evidence-based improvement. Yeah. So this is also one of the findings in the Korean study. If they say, if they find that if the government can achieve an interoperable and connected landscape, it means that they understand how every agencies and every function of the government is interconnected. So several areas of interoperability and also connected government needs to be looked into. One of it is how to improve resident experience, or as now is citizen experience in the public services. Of course, as a government or organization, we need to increase the administrative efficiency, as I mentioned just now, in terms of policy making, so that the data is actually being used to make sure that our policy is actually relevant with the current situations. So of course, data privacy will be one of the area that we need to ensure to make sure that our data is actually being protected properly, whether it is an open data or even shared data. Of course, security is very important for us to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in the country. The fifth one is actually to increase the online service, but for better user experience. So when you are talking about user experience, usually they are concerned about security of the data that they actually sharing with the government, and also how many system I have to log in. So we should reduce the fragmentation of services. So in this area of online services, several focus should be given by architect to ensure that the transaction is secured online, and the architecture can reduce in terms of identity fraud. For example, like some of our the ASEAN country, also Malaysia, we are embarking in terms of the national identity, digital identity, and improve ease of doing business and optimization of our resources as well. So not only the citizen we are focusing, we also doing something good for the business community. At the same time, the architecture should have an impact in terms of lowering administrative costs. especially when we are talking about consolidation and integration of the infrastructure. A study done by MIT in this year shows that better user experience can be achieved by focusing on the digital trust and also integrated platform. So some of the customer and also the employee really want a personalized digital experience. So there is a case mentioned by MIT by the London brand, which is some kind of services at the local level, which they develop a digital platform for public service. If we are looking into what we have done now, usually we give a platform for pay taxes, pay rents, and something like that. But in this case, they are actually working together with the on the road, or actually the real workers at the streets in terms of cleaning, waste collection, and pest control, so that all this data is actually being collected and published for the public to know the status of their city. They also implement a self-service model, which is actually giving empower the employee or the citizens to see all the information of resources being used in their works, and also in terms of how can they facilitate on their daily lives. One of the responsibility of architect also is how do you embed new technology in your solutions. Usually when we are working with the business people or even in IT people of an agency, they don't actually see the needs of embedding new technology that they never use. So this is how one of the technology graph embedding, or actually knowledge graph, being used to facilitate the translation of connected data. Sorry. It can be from the network of peoples, and even the network of a transaction be made, or even the knowledge that we are actually distributing to the public. So all in all, the public service business benefit can be optimized through raising administrative efficiency, enhancing citizen experience, and enabling data-driven policy making. If we look into the society lifestyle of benefits, we can see that they are more happier with the service that government gives. They live healthily, and they have a work-life balance. At the same time, some of their social issues are being overcome. With that, I thank you. And happy Independence Day for Malaysian citizens and participants.
Thank you, Dr. Is. And I really love that she explained on the areas of digital by design.